To me, it just goes to show that the relationship between black Americans and the Democrat Party nowadays is like the grown man clinging to his mom's titty. Yo, what up? My name is Greg Foreman with the G4 Report, a black conservative perspective, aka a liberal's worst nightmare. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my videos. Let's get it. Now, I am very critical of LeBron James. And the primary reason why I'm so critical of LeBron James is because with great power comes great responsibility. Now, LeBron James has taken it upon himself to educate the populace and to lead his people, right? And I truly do feel that LeBron James is misinformed. And that's ironic because he spent a lot of time trying to explain to other people that they're misinformed when truly he's misinformed, right? And one great example of this is him talking about the Malcolm X book. He said he was reading the autobiography, and LeBron James a lot of times photographed reading these books that happens to be on the first page when he's actually photographed reading them, and he claims that he reads his book and he's some type of hyper intellectual. And I'm not saying that LeBron's not smart and that he doesn't read. He probably does, but his understanding of that book and of Malcolm X's actual ideology leaves a lot to be desired in terms of whether or not he actually understands what this man actually believed. And let's start with taking a look at what he actually said about the book.
Taylor, you want to follow up?
Yeah. So you're holding the autobiography of Malcolm X along with Alex Haley. I don't know how far you are into the book, but what's your biggest takeaway so far?
I kind of just started a couple days ago, but I've read and a lot of notes over the years. This is my first time actually reading this from start to finish. But just a very smart man, very, very, very smart man, and basically his words in the 60s and what was going on is actually what's going on today still. Him understanding how powerful the Negro can be. He used that word a lot. How powerful we are, but we have to unite, and we have to be together. We have to stand strong because there's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be things that's going to be thrown at us where they try to weaken us. They try to make us feel like we're not kings and queens, and it's going to come from all different races and different shapes and sizes and things of that nature. And just a very powerful minded gentleman, and it's unbelievable to kind of read something that's coming directly from him. Just hate. Wish I had an opportunity to meet him. Obviously, we know what the situation that happened along not only him, but Dr. Martin Luther King, some of the greats that's ever walked this face of the earth, not only just here in America, but in this face of the earth. So it's a pretty interesting book so far.
Okay, so from that clip, anybody can tell, like, he obviously did not read that book, right? Like, if you've ever been in class and the teacher called you and was like, hey, like, talk about this book. What did you think, about such and such? So I thought the book was very good. It was interesting. It was very, very thought-provoking. Just all general answers, right? Like, and you give that general answer because you obviously didn't read the book, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, knowing what I know about what Malcolm X's ideology is and what LeBron James's ideology is, they are here and here. They are worlds apart, right? It's like fire and ice. So there's no way that LeBron James can feel like Malcolm X was a very smart man and have such respect for Malcolm X, but yet hold the same views that he currently holds right now politically, right? So let me show you what Malcolm X actually thought about liberals and Democrats. Roll the clip.
So this government has failed us. The government itself has failed us. And the white liberals who have been posing as our friends have failed us. And once we see that all these other sources to which we've turned have failed, we stop turning to them and turn to ourselves. We need a self-help program, a do it yourself philosophy, a do it right now philosophy. It's already too late philosophy. This is what you and I need to get with. And the only way we're going to solve our problem is with a self-help program. Before we can get a self-help program started, we have to have a self-help philosophy.
Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who'll go to the White House and who'll stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You can keep Johnson in Washington, D.C., or you can send him back to his Texas cotton patch. You're the one who sent Kennedy to Washington. You're the one who put the present Democratic administration in Washington, D.C. The whites were evenly divided. It was the fact that you threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House. When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first, and they put you last. Because you're a chump. In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republican. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you bash controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you, because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
So as you can see, Malcolm X spoke out specifically against liberalism and Democrats. Like, okay, so how can you as LeBron James go on stage and tap dance for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden when you can see what Malcolm X said about liberals and Democrats, how they use black people as tools in order to garner votes, right? Lyndon B. Johnson, who passed the Civil Rights Act, said on Air Force One that I'll have these N-words with the hard ER voting Democrat for the next 200 years. He said that. A liberal, a Democrat said that. We've been voting Democrat for the last 40, 50, 60 years since the Civil Rights era, and look where we're at right now. We have people protesting in the streets about racism, social injustices, and unfair treatment, right? But you've been voting Democrat for the last 50, 60 years. So LeBron, if you actually read this book and you have read Malcolm X's notes and listened to his speeches, why you vote Democrat? Why are you voting Democrat? Are you being bought out? Right? Because that's the only other explanation I have. Right? If you know this, why are you voting Democrat? Or do you have even a basic understanding of Malcolm X's ideology? Also, we look at Malcolm X's economic ideology, it was also conservative as well. He believed in entrepreneurship, building business, and self-reliance, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. These are all conservative principles and values that Malcolm X pushed. Now, don't get me wrong, Malcolm X is a very controversial figure. He was a separatist, in his early days until he went on Hajj and visited the Middle East, and he saw all these races come together and interact, and he changed his views on white people to a certain extent. But again, his economic ideology was conservative. He believed in black people building our own businesses, trying to build up our own economy, pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, self-reliance, not being reliant on the government, right? Malcolm X was against big government, right? But you're out here supporting a party that's for big government, right? That wants more government in your life. Again, it to me, it doesn't make sense. I don't know, like, you know, and to me, it just goes to show that the relationship between black Americans and the Democrat Party nowadays is like the grown man clinging to his mom's titty, right? He should have winged off of that for the last 20 years, just like we've been voting Democrat for the last 40, 50 years. Like we should have weaned off of that after the civil rights movement. But yet here we are, still clinging to it, still sucking it, not getting anything out of it. But yet still you have these people like LeBron James gonna march out and tell you to keep doing it, right? If things are not getting better, if society is so racist, if our society is so bad, if there's so many problems in our society, and I'm not saying there's not problems, there are problems. Why do you keep trying to vote for the same people thinking they're gonna change it? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. That's what these people are asking black people to do when they ask us to go vote Democrat. Again, Malcolm X was believing in conservative economic principles, low taxation, entrepreneurship, and not wallowing in victimhood. Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, the whole Democrat Party has told you time and time and time again what they think about you. Hillary Clinton believes that black men are super predators. Joe Biden believes that black people are monolith, that we can't think for ourselves. We all think the same, unlike the Hispanic community. Now look at the Democrat platform when it comes to Hispanic community versus the black community. They know that the Hispanic community are not guaranteed Democrat votes, and that their population is growing at a rate in which they're going to be a very, very significant voter base in the future. So look at their platform and how much they go out of the way to try to support the Hispanic vote. They have debates in Spanish. They support illegal immigration. They support sanctuary cities. You know, they do everything that they can. They tear down Trump because of the wall. They don't want the wall. They do everything they can to go out of their way to support the Hispanic community because they know that their votes are not guaranteed. But that yet us as black people are in the streets protesting about this so-called, mistreatment and injustices. But yet we're turning around and voting for the same people that's been in power for the last 50, 60, 70 years that we've been voting for. And that hasn't done anything about it. But then you turn around and you look at, the Republicans and Trump and say, well, I can't vote for them because they're racist. Well, how is Trump racist? Trump increased funding for HBCUs. Trump in his tax cut bill created economic opportunity zones for investment, capitalism in these black communities. Trump also passed the most comprehensive criminal justice reform bill in 2019. Very highly regarded. Reversed some of the things that Joe Biden had did. Trump did that. Where's all this racism coming from? Because honestly, I don't see it. But again, this is just an example of LeBron James being misinformed, right? Like he doesn't listen to anything outside of what his handlers and his overlords, China and Nike, tell him. And it's like, LeBron, you smarter than that, man. You have the power to do a lot for the black community, and that starts with stop voting Democrat. All right, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that LeBron James is misinformed about these issues? Get in that comment box, subscribe, like, support your boy. Peace.